and you can succeed. Therefore, that's your good ending. And then the sequel, I think when Soul Calibur 2 came out, you can see the bullet wound in his chest, meaning that canonically he lost. Um, Hello and welcome to another Dead Pixel, where a podcast about video games, anime, entertainment, life, a little bit of everything in between. I'm your host, as always, Joe, and with me is my co host, Nick, who always says his name spelled with a K-I-E for some reason. Don't know why.
Uh, yeah, it's a silent IE. It's it's the Lithuanian spelling of the name, and which has a Greek root, and so and there's also a little bit of Latin in there as well. So that the I and the E cancel out, and one of the C or the K sound depending on which which language root you're really going for. It gets canceled out, but luckily both of those C and K make the same sound if you want them to. So yeah, it's a lot, but really it adds up to nothing.
Okay. I just assumed it was what you put in when you decide to subscribe to any new app. That way, if they sell your information and then you get an email with the KIE, then they know who sold it to you. Like I'll generally put just JO, and I'll put like a hyphen and whatever company name. And I had someone once go to me and be like, you know, like it's really neat that you have this in your name, and I'm like, no, that's just what I put down. Obviously I don't have your corporation in my name. It's just that if you sell my information, obviously it's going to have your business attached to my name. Like,
That's pretty smart. That's a nice little poison pill. Joe Kmart.
yeah, right. It's like Joe hyphen K hyphen Mart. Like,
Yep.
it's like, I
Um,
wonder who sold my information. you
I
know
am I am the Kmart heir, and
yeah.
I'm the one that thought of Blue Light Special.
uh,
That's
Tears, I owe
pretty smart.
tears. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's pretty
Okay.
good. I'm gonna have to start using that now because that is pretty good. A little poison pill to put in to anybody that may or may not sell your information.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, let's see here. We've been playing a little bit of some other stuff that we can't talk about quite yet. But you've made a accomplishment that you would like to tell us all. So why don't you hit us?
Yeah, I finished Ghost of Tsushima. Um,
Sushi.
Tsushima. I finished Ghost of Tsushima this past weekend, and it was a game that I started back in February, and then got most of the way through, and then put down because other games came out, and I was like, I'll get back to it, and finally did. Finally forced myself to get back to it. I played it on hard, and the early game was pretty tough, but there was a couple spots where it was like, okay, this is pretty grindy. But I also was going through every like basically anything that was in front of me. I was just cutting it down. I was just if there was a village. Well, not village because these are like Mongols, but okay, maybe some. Anyway, so anytime there was like Mongols in the way or whatever, any kind of small thing to do, I would just go ahead and do it. So I did all but one thing, and I think that thing sprang up later, but all but one thing on the first section, and then one thing on the second section, and then, but by the time I got to the third section, I did a little bit, and I was like, okay, I got to beat this game. I just got to, because I was already overpowered and stuff like that. But I did a lot of the stuff, and after it was really toward the end of that first section of the island that I I was like just kind of cruising through pretty much everything. I do regret that I didn't have time to go into the DLC. The I forget what it's called, but the bonus island. I can't think of it. It's feel like it's on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to play with that either, because when I originally played the game, that DLC island wasn't out, and neither was the multiplayer at the time, actually. So that was one of the things that,
Because the multiplayer is
you
a
basically walk
storyteller, right?
the multiplayer is a so the multiplayer is a cooperative side story that
Yeah.
isn't really, I guess, canon, or it doesn't really matter. It's just like your spirits in the afterlife, or something like that. So, but you can play up to 4 players, if I remember correctly. But that wasn't even officially like out in a capacity when I went
Okay.
ahead and beat the game originally. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Well, yeah. So I didn't really mess with it. I started to one time, and I was like, "What is this storyteller dude?" And what is this? And then I was like, "Oh, this must be the multiplayer aspect of the game." And I was like,
no, 'cause- yeah, Iki Island is
"That's right,
the new DLC. But like it was like Legends or something like that was the multiplayer combat bit.
right."
Uh, and yeah, it was, unfortunately, I also this was a game that none of my friends were really into at the time.
Wow.
Uh,
Okay.
I absolutely loved Ghost of Tsushima, but I agree with you. After the first island, if you do everything on the first island, you become very overpowered very quickly. Uh, was there a reason why you decided to go and challenge yourself on hard mode? Because you're usually not the person to run out and just jump into hard mode off right out the gate.
Um, I wanted to do like I wanted to play this game more thoroughly, and I thought that playing it on hard, I don't know. There's been a couple games recently, not a lot, but a couple games recently where I've been like, I kind of want to see, how well I can do on hard mode, like how, you know, if and when I'm going to want to just be like, okay, let's turn this back to normal, and Ghost of Tsushima, I knew that I wanted to do more of it than just like go through the main story or whatever, or do the main story and a couple extras. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna do it on hard mode, and that will force me to use more of the systems that the game has to offer. And I feel like that was fairly true. Honestly, putting the game down for a few months and then coming back and having to like relearn how to do stuff and having my timing be bad on like my counters and stuff like that made it so that I had to start using more of the weapons, because up until that point I was powerful enough and I knew the things that I like wanted to do and the ways that I wanted to go. My 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 go-to options, and I had the blocking and the countering down, and the dodging down enough to where I really didn't have to go outside my comfort zone. So coming back to the game, I had to start using, because I didn't really want to use smoke bombs whenever I first got them. I was like, this is pointless. But then, when I came back, I was like, I got in a trouble spot really bad and basically used smoke bombs accidentally, and then realized, because I think it told me, but I just forgotten, but realized that when you throw a smoke bomb, you can now assassinate people in the smoke, and so you don't have to fight them anymore. You can just like either assassinate them or start to chain assassinate. And so I was like, oh, this is this is sick. And there's like certain perks that allow you to gain health back, and so I would use that. But I also played, I got kind of overpowered, and then I never played the game, at least not very much, with actual armor on. I always played it either with the traveler's attire, which aesthetically I really like a lot, or the white Ronin robes, which I which I did the final battle when the white Ronin robes, and it does look pretty sick. It looks pretty awesome. Um,
Dude, those showdowns and stuff you got, like so the game is. I remember the game being pretty easy for the most part, but then just a couple of those. I forget what they exactly call them, but just the one-on-one like showdowns that you get. Where you
duels.
have,
I
yeah,
think
the duels.
it's duels. Yeah.
Okay, I just remember some of those gave me a hard time. I mean, if you come into it with like a full meter or whatever, special meter, you can kind of cheese it a little bit. But I just remember there's like one by this waterfall. It's really good. It's like it's all meant to be picturesque and like it's. it kind of was like I remember just like this and I think Horizon and stuff like that were starting to really popularize photo mode back on the PS4.
Mhm.
Um, and I was just like, yeah, I mean, I remember the Kurosawa mode being in there. I'm like, it's not doesn't quite hit right, at least on the PS4, but they might have made it better on the PS5. But yeah, you made me really think about that. I was like, yeah, I got to play this again, or at least I want to refresh myself. So when I went to download this, it's like I went to hit play. Like, do you want to like download your PS4 save? I'm like, sure. So I went ahead and downloaded it, and then I'm like, I don't remember. I'm like, maybe it'll let me do New Game Plus, and I went to hit. It just says continue. Like, where am I? Let me see. I hit continue, and it just opened the opening cinematic, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'm going to play this a little bit later though because there's a Hell is Us is waiting, so I have to get it. I will get to this game in like a week or so. At least that's what I say because I want, like I said, I need at least a little refresher or at least something to get me more amped before playing Ghost of Yote, and also just I want to try that EK Island. Uh, at the same time, it's just like I am not necessarily willing to play, another 20 to 30 hours of this game. But if I can do New Game Plus and kind of power my way through, I'm kind of curious about doing that because it might be a little cheap, but at the same time, I think it's a fun way to play.
Yeah.
So we'll see if I actually get around to it in time or not. The game, I remember the game being pretty awesome, but it was also one of those collectathon things where like I first thing I did is I ran to every fox shrine I could. I just
Mhm.
ran across the map like give me these foxes, give me the items or whatever I needed. And yeah, I remember the Ronin robes being cool. I remember a couple of the hats being goofy.
Yeah.
Uh,
You can get pretty
so
goofy if you want to, but really, you can do kind of some fashion samurai uh, with it pretty well. Like, you can go the archers, robes and stuff like that, and it's it's it, it it's smartly aesthetic, um, and it's yeah. And then once you get like once you get a little bit further, there are some like I don't know, dyers or dye masters or whatever. There's basically guys that will dye your clothes. There's like one that's white and one that's black, and they and I didn't get too much into either one, but they have different like styles of basically like pastels or darker colors. Essentially, is the way that they go. And I was like, this is pretty cool. Like once I got the white ones, I was like, I think I found the one that I want to use for the most. But there's definitely a lot on the darker side that I thought was really cool as well. But yeah,
I
it's
remember you were presenting it. How long did it take you to finish?
oh, I think it was 52 hours. It wasn't it wasn't as long as I thought, but I think that um because I was expecting like 70 hours, but I think it's because I rocketed through the last island. I only did like one or two extra, well, like three or four extra little things, and then I was like, yeah, it's time to just finish this game. And it didn't take that much longer after I got to that island to do that. So probably that, and then Ike, and then if I was gonna do like a platinum trophy run or something like that, I probably would be pretty close, 75 or maybe 80 hours going around and trying to collect everything. But I don't know, like I'm tempted because it is like I do have almost everything. I think I'd have to go. I think I'd have to try pretty hard to find a lot of the artifacts. As I think I'm only like halfway through the artifacts, so that would be kind of tough. But
I remember the game just being like, the whole concept is all right. So for anyone who actually doesn't know anything about Ghost of Tsushima at this point, it's an open world game made by Sucker Punch. The idea is you're on this in Japanese area where it's being invaded by Mongols, and your territory was taken over. You're now trying to reclaim your area, and the big controversy within your faction is the fact that you're willing to learn shinobi techniques, or you're willing to learn do things that aren't just straight up samurai. Um, or the Western equivalent of like the British invading America and the Minutemen coming out of the woods. It's like this isn't how the war is fought. You're not supposed to do that. And I remember everything else being pretty okay. Like, yeah, it's just like, no, this all makes sense. I'm completely down with it. And then I forget which like there's a point when you invade a fort and you're like, and up until this point, I've been clearing out like camps left and right, all stealthy or like just fine. And then it gets to the point where like I'm going to poison the well, and I'm like, why? Why are you doing that? That's just like in my brain. It's just like you went full dark side real quick, like like there's no reason. Like I understand it's a tactic, but I can clearly take these guys out. I am confident in my superhuman samurai skills at this point. But he's just like, no, I'm going to poison. I'm like, I guess we're doing this, and he's just like, yeah, I remember that just being like comically bad or like bad guy move, not
Like it's like, yeah, you could do this a little bit differently, or it's is uh, this is a bridge too far or something. But yeah, like that part of the story is pretty good. It's a little bit weird to us because there's not as much of an honor culture, for us now. But back then, it very much was doing things the right way, um, and rather than even if like, I mean, even at the cost of your life or whatever. Um, and this story is about, hey, we have to survive. Like we have to survive against the Mongols. And you know the Japanese army was like getting its ass kicked essentially. Um, and so the main character is like, hey, I just we got like I just watched us lose hardcore with the old tactics, and then I got thrown off of a bridge, and
But yeah,
now
he loses, then he gets found, and he goes, "I'm gonna run back in head first all over again, just to get thwopped." And it's like it's funny because it's that much that stubbornness, and then he learns to adapt. Apparently, you're supposed to be able to win that bridge fight. There's supposed to be a way to win the fight, I guess.
I mean
I just
it's a
remember
real fight, right? It's just programmed for you for what happens when you lose. I don't know what would. I guess if you win the fight, do they just throw you off anyway, or
I wasn't sure. Like I remember reading when it first came out because I was legit curious. Like no matter what, are you supposed to lose? But people are saying you can win it. I'm curious since you just finished. Like if you were to just quick jump back in, would you be able like with your
ultra?
current skill
Yeah.
like your end game skills, would you be able to accomplish that first task much easier?
Well, if it's like New Game Plus, then yeah, you probably you just you could just like
I don't
triangle
know if they
circle.
strip you away. Yeah, I'm not sure if they'd strip you away for your skills and techniques and make you learn them all over again. Because I know a lot of new game pluses will do that, but they'll give you when you get to the starting base or whatever, then you can unlock all your equipment and stuff at that point. But in the beginning, I can see it being limited to what you originally started out with.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I did not finish. Gosh, I can't think of anyone's name, but was it Megumi? The archer girl that you're hunting. I forget her name. And then the old man that was her teacher. Like I didn't get to finish that one, and I'm pretty sure I remember seeing that in one of the early showcases for the game. I think they showed that final battle, because that was pretty. I remember that being like seeing that for the first time, being like, whoa, that is awesome. So I am right at the end of their story, and I do want to go back and finish that, but I don't know if I'm gonna have time.
yeah, I ended up. I remember specifically. I did everything I could in the game, and it was great. I absolutely loved it. This game is also set up for every zone is pretty much picturesque
Oh yeah,
to get you know comically so, but it's like because obviously it's like that's where your brain has to shut off because you're like, no, I'm walking into this Hollywood set piece. Forever flowers are in forever yellow bloom here. The autumn leaves are always falling. I remember my screensaver on the PS4 for the longest time was a screenshot I took, which was me recreating one of the like one of the trailer cinematics of just being in the woods with the leaves falling and like the sun in the background just perfectly. And I'm like, yep, I just took that and that was my screen, like just my background forever.
Yeah, this like this game. They knew what they were doing when they put the photo mode in this game, and it's a good photo mode. Like you have a lot of options, and there's a couple things that I would like to see different. I can't think of anything offhand right now, but I remember there's a couple things where I'm like, we could probably do a little differently there.
Yeah, but it's a PS4 game, so I can't really knock it too much.
But I mean, but yeah, like every yeah, like every place that you go, and it honestly kind of makes you want to go back and replay certain areas because a lot of times when it's full daylight or night, it's like, okay, this place looks nice, but it doesn't look great. But there'll be places that you'll wander into, and then the sun will go down or begin to rise just at like that perfect, like golden hour, and the rays like shoot through, and you're just like, gosh dang, this is gorgeous. And you're like, I wonder if like there's been like 20 areas that I went through just at the wrong time of day and they look normal. And now if I go back there and like change because that's the thing about the photo mode is you can change the time, which a lot of games let you do that. But like you can make the sun go and be whatever time you want it to be. And it makes me go, dang, I wonder if I went back to this place and changed the time to like sunrise and sunset, if it would be like really cool looking here.
I couldn't remember if the places there was an active day or night cycle anymore because I couldn't remember if certain places was just always static at a certain time.
There are missions where they're like, we need to wait till nightfall to do this, and then no matter what time of day it is, it'll be like cut and then dark screen and then rise back up on them standing, outside of your mission start point at night, you know.
Yeah. Uh, so I guess slight spoiler. Just Act 3 or whatever when you see your horse and that's the comment you make. I'm like that just it's soul crushing. You're like no.
They killed Nobu. Oh
Yeah,
man. It's like,
there's the whole cinematic and the way you're walking and you look down and you're like, yeah, I think you just I remember correctly, just you just apologize. You're just
oh,
like sorry, no, like or something like that. It's just like, and it's just like, oof, you just knocked the wind out of me. It just I didn't really the horse didn't really care too much, but at the same time, you're like he was your partner throughout the whole thing.
you were doing
Uh,
everything with that dude. Like,
and
yeah,
then you're like, it's like the whole '80s Hollywood trope, like now this time it's personal,
yeah,
because I didn't know these people in the beginning of the game, and so yes, they all got taken out, but I don't care. But I just traveled with this horse for the last like I don't know 40 hours, and now I'm no now I want these guys gone.
yeah. It's that Shadow of the Colossus. Spoilers. Sorry for spoilers for Shadow of the Colossus. Um, horses. I could name some other stuff, but horses don't always fare very well. So I do want to get into one big spoiler because that I wanted to ask you about, and that is I told you already, but I wanted to ask you how you handled the final decision with the final boss, Lord Shimura, and because I told you that when I fought Lord Shimura, um, and beat him, that the game gives you a choice because he wants you to kill him and preserve his honor or whatever. At that point, you're basically helping him commit suicide because he's beaten and you don't have to do so. You don't have to either. You don't have to do that, and that's the choice the game gives you. Is he says basically like preserve my honor, please kill me. Um, or you can choose to do that or you can choose to say no because that's a little bit the point that you're trying to make in some ways.
It's
uh,
like it's a new era. It's no longer
it's
the old
it's a,
samurai era.
it's a new era. So anyway, I chose to grant the old man his wish and kill him, and I wanted to
I
ask
did them
what.
both. I did them both,
Okay,
but
but canonically, what is the Joe canon?
canonically, he's a goner.
Okay.
It makes for a more cinematic vibe, and plus less likely to come back and haunt me, like being angry, being like, you know, you didn't grant me my honorable death, and now my next kin of is going to try to come after you. I'm like, no, no, you're gone. It's like it looks, like I said, it plays the role. Uh, Jin came into this knowing what what was supposed to be done. If he didn't want to, he would have sniped this dude with an archer shot from like a mile away,
Yeah.
or I would have blow darted him in the back of the head. But no, you fought him honorably. You knew the outcome. It was either him or you. Uh, Grant him his honorable death. Uh, he's at peace. You did the right thing. That's kind of how I look at it.
And it's in another way, it's kind of like your old ways would have gotten us all killed, but instead they're just going to get you killed. Um,
I do think it'd be funny though if it did let you just blow dart him or something.
just
Just
it's like
smoke on. It's just
just murk him, just like chain assassinate him like a common Mongol foot soldier. Yeah, and yeah, killing the Khan was pretty cool. I struggled with that. I died a couple times trying to fight him on the boat at that, there at the end. I got into a kind of a weird spot where I didn't have very much moon juice. I forget what they call it exactly, but your power, your power stuff, and it got kind of dicey there for a little while, but I managed to get it eventually. But yeah, anyway, like the duels, you keep talking about the duels, and like the duels are, I'd heard they were amazing, and I think they are my favorite part of it. They're always in really nice, picturesque places. They were always tough. As I got further along in the game, they got a little bit easier, but like those first like 3 or 4 were really hard because you don't really have a lot of special to use, and you don't have a lot of health, and so you really have to parry properly. You have to dodge properly, and they're just fun because it's like it definitely tests your skill and makes you feel. That's when the game feels most like you're a samurai, like you're a legit real samurai. It's super super cool.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this game is the first game that really clicked with me with the concept of stance dancing,
Oh yeah.
where like you have different enemies coming at you, and you have to change your formation or the way you attack, depending and change your weapon or whatever. Like, oh yeah, I'm going against a spear user, or I'm going against heavy, like a heavy guy, something like that. You have to change up how you're attacking, and it became kind of natural towards the end, which I hadn't really gotten any other game that too comfortable with that concept, but this was the one like I remember it clicking pretty well. Uh, and I remember that during the last battle, the Khan battle, as you're mentioning, uh, I remember all I could think of is the ending for Mitsurugi from the original like Soul Calibur or Soul Edge.
Okay.
So the games had different cinematic stories uh, for if you beat the game, beat the whole fighting game and made it to the end. And Mitsurugi's was him running after it's him facing the modern firearm, and so it's him running like on top of a boat or trying to jump a boat, and you have to like button press it just right to take out the sniper, as it were, or something like that, the rifleman. And you can succeed, therefore that's your good ending. And then the sequel, I think when Soul Calibur 2 came out, you can see the bullet wound in his chest, meaning that canonically he lost. um so yeah,
Okay.
it was
Yeah.
just I just remember thinking, I'm like, oh man, this is kind of flashbacks to that all over again. But yeah, I'm glad you finally got around to it, finishing it up. It is very much a for those who missed out on the PS4. It's like it's most definitely like a to-do homework assignment, right? It's like it's a must-play game, at least to experience it. It's a great showcase piece, especially if you have a nice TV. At least the PS4 version. Like I'm assuming the PS5 upgrade was really nice. I have barely touched it on the PS5, so I'm excited to look at it with the new graphics
Yeah.
and the new loading and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think yeah, the loading too. But yeah, the graphics, the upgrades. You can tell that it's a PS4 game, but like just barely. There's a lot of things where it's like this is it's upgraded really well, and especially on like an OLED TV. I'm sure it's going to look even better with the upgrades and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, this game, um, I knew that I wanted to go through it because Ghost of Yotei is coming out, and I'm really excited for Ghost of Yotei now. I mean, it's on the one hand, when I first started playing Tsushima, I was kind of like, I don't really know what more they can really do. If they're just going to make the same game again, but now having seen more different PS5 games, I I can definitely I can definitely see how a lot of the same combat is going to be really useful again, like or still really fun, maybe with just some slight twists on it. And I'm sure that it's been years, right? Like so they're gonna have a ton of stuff, but a ton of brand new stuff for you to like have fun with. But yeah, I think the PS4. This is probably one of the games of the generation, right? I mean, it's like whatever you missed on PS4, if this is one of those things, you've kind of got to go back and play it on PS5 or whatever. But it's definitely like on the short list of like, hey, this is one of the games of that generation.
Well, it was one of the reasons why it was such a big deal because it was, one of the exclusives. You came to, like this is the if you're a PlayStation fanboy, this is one of the things drums you bang on. You're like, we got this, we have Horizon. They have, there's the uh God of War. It's like
Mm,
so these. It was one of the original staples. It's a new IP. Granted, Sucker Punch does pretty much. They've been PlayStation exclusive since Sly Cooper. Uh, but also Ghost of Tsushima came out like 6 years or so after it was Infamous Second Son and Infamous First Light, and I think those both came out like 2014, and this came out in 2020. So it was kind of impressive. Like they had gone silent for quite some time, and it was the tail. It was towards the end of the generation, kind of in comparison. But yeah, then you have this, and so Ghost of Yotei coming out. They do have slated they're supposed to have slated legends as well, and if that means it's for 2026, so that means they're going to have that's the multiplayer component and possibly extra content,
okay.
or at least that's what it was for Ghost of Tsushima. The legends was both the multiplayer and extra content. So I think I'm glad they didn't continue Jin's story. I thought that was complete as is.
Mm,
um this is supposed to take place a few years after, if I remember correctly. So, or a handful of years after. So there might be a nod or something like that to it. Uh, but I really don't want to see a whole lot of Jin. Maybe it'd be nice to maybe find out what happened afterwards, but I don't need to have him front and center.
mm. Yeah,
I kind of want to see where they're going with this. Yeah.
I think the moves that they're making are good, and yeah, I can't wait to play it. But yeah.
All right. Well, great. Is there any other back catalog that's on your to-do list that you like that's higher up? Did you ever do the original God of War, Horizon, or any of
Uh,
those?
no. Original God of War. I know
Or
enough.
the God of War remake? Yeah, yeah.
Oh
Just
no, I did play that. I did play that
oh,
prior to God of
you did
War.
Ragnarok. I knew you did Ragnarok. I didn't know if you did.
Yeah,
Um,
I did. I just did a speed run. Or, I don't want to say speed run, but I did like a mainline run through that God of War remake um, on PC prior
oh,
to it to Ragnarok coming out.
okay, I am way wrong about the time jump for Ghost of
Yote.
Yote. Yeah, Ghost of Yote is 329 years after. So yeah, Jin's dead.
Whoa.
Jin's dead.
Okay.
Yeah, it's supposed to be
Jin's
it's
ghost,
supposed to be
maybe.
yeah. I mean, you can find a scroll, something about him. Like this is how he ruled the land, and this is why it's in turmoil now. I don't know. But
Maybe.
uh it's supposed to be in the new setting is Hokkaido, but it's in 1603. So all right. Uh, yeah. Once again, it's been a while since the original press conference or like the initial reveal date, so I kind of forgot how
I'd,
much time.
I wouldn't have remembered that 5 seconds after I heard it, so it's kind of whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I do have a back catalog. I'm trying to play mostly newer games, but my back catalog actually includes stuff on the PS2 and PlayStation. Uh, so it and Super Nintendo, you know. So there's some like ultra classics that I actually need to like. Those are like the if I start playing old games, I have decided that if I start playing old games, it's going to be one of those like, hey, you need to do this before you die kind of games. So yeah,
Yeah, I'm waiting for you to buckle up with some old school 80-hour RPGs or something like that. You know, uh,
there's at least there's a couple on the list. Maybe not quite 80, but definitely some 60-hour RPGs on the list. You know, a lot of it actually like for like PlayStation 1 and 2. My top ones on there are really Silent Hill. You know, I have a PS2, um, and that is that is in good condition. Got it off of eBay, and I actually have Silent Hill 2, but I would like to play Silent Hill 1. I think that's like that. You know, like those two games are top priority on that. And then there's some PS3 things that I definitely want to get to as well. But yeah, it's there's a list. If I think about it too much, I start to shake. So yeah.
yeah, for sure. There's always a back catalog. No, when it comes to yeah, like they said, it's nice the fact that some of those old catalog games being remade or remastered. Usually the when they bring them forward, they allow you to do quality of life stuff, especially with the old RPGs. Skip random battles or to help speed up the battles or speed up progress in general. All those little things really do help a lot. And some people like will try to shame you for it. I think it's your time. Right? You got to use your time how you see fit. I think it's better to give you the option to choose how you play it, opposed to trying to nickel and dime you for it and be like, hey, buy your way to success. I think that's the scummy route. But honestly, if you don't have all the time in the world, who can blame you? And so long as you get to experience the story and you still have a good time with it, uh, there is a there's a place and time for going ahead and grinding. Uh, but
It was in
the older you get,
1995.
yeah, I was gonna say when you're middle school and under, like by all means grind away. No, that doesn't sound right. So
What is this?
okay,
What is this? A homecoming dance?
yeah, right. It's like awkwardly in the corner. But no, the okay. So that's for me. What I've been playing. I mentioned last week I was playing Dark Picture Chronicles, Man of Medan. Finally finished that one up. Actually, it's funny because we jumped back into it and like we were already like we didn't realize we were right at the very end.
Mhm.
It was kind of weird because it's like, all right, we had a couple sequences. Then it is like it was a little janky. Like, okay, this is really jarring. Just the decisions that there was made that like they give us or the position we're in, and it's like we're on this derelict boat. Dude keels over, and next thing, rats are all over him. I'm like, where are these rats coming from? This is like a 50-year-old boat, like just wandering the oceans. These rats aren't still going to be alive unless if like they just floated on a crate or just like more just feeding off people who keep on coming in a regular click. So it's just really, you're not supposed to think about it, but that's just like that's what I do. I focus on the weird stuff. Um, and then it was just funny. They had this stupid little quick time event, and I'm sitting there trying to do that while my buddy doesn't realize that he's playing as someone else, and he's trying to read this like journal out to me. I'm like, dude, shut up! I'm in the middle of this. Um, and a quick thing because they collected something, it popped up in the corner like hit R1 to inspect whatever clue or whatever thing you found, and so as part of the button prompt sequence, I'm just hitting whatever's on the screen. And also, I see R1, I or whatever. I hit the button, cuts out to a pause menu, so you can look at look at your stuff you found. And I'm like, darn it, like now we have to both hit ready to go back into the game. And it does nice thing is when you are paused, it'll do a countdown from like 3 2 1, and then it'll go back into the action. Problem is my prompt was already on screen, so when they clicked me back into it, I tried doing it, but I was too late, so I failed the, like, one of the last sequences, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, we're doomed now." But turns out due to actions we did before, like, we were like, "Okay, we either have a lot more of this game to play, or we're just things are gonna go south real fast." And then they're like, everyone groups together. "Oh, yeah, this just happened. We're all doomed." Like, they're all, like, contemplating. And then not even a moment later, like, there's the rescue boat on the horizon coming at you, and it's just like, "Huh, okay. That doesn't make sense to me, but alright." And so, yeah, we awkwardly won. Turns we so due to something that happened way earlier, uh, everyone's, like, kinda semi freaked out, and it's just like it's the most awkward ending that we got. There's probably, like, more, picture perfect endings or something like that, and there's also by far failures you can do.
Mm.
But it turns out, like, we succeeded and everyone survived. That's okay. It's just, but it was just really weird. I was just like, all right, that was kind of anticlimactic and just abrupt. Um, and like, had we not did the thing before that got the rescue boat to come, then would it have extended the game length? We're not really 100% sure. I'm like, I feel like all routes quickly come to a head right at this point. So like, if we, like I don't know, if we couldn't fix the one boat, then maybe something else would have happened. Um, and it was just there's some like I said, some of that weird jank. For some reason, when I was playing, as one of the characters earlier again, they were showing me once again the same silhouette of. I was playing a guy named I think that Alex is his name, and his brother's Brad, and it kept on showing me Brad's ghost silhouette, just like when my friend was playing before, and they couldn't load in properly. So I'm like, the Brad is supposed to be alive, unless if he's like it's like a ghost or at least if it's like some sort of monster in disguise. Where we weren't like I'm not sure if they're trying to hint at something, but like as I'm playing, all of a sudden his astral form is right next to me, and I'm like, what the heck, you know? And it led to nothing. I'm like, okay, I was expecting some sort of twist at the end, like on the boat. Someone revealing themselves to be like, not who they seem or something, maybe due to our actions. But I'm like, no, we all survived. I'm like, okay, that's fine, I guess. Made no sense to us, but we had an okay time with it. There's a lot we left behind. There's so many like hidden clues, and depending on how you do it, like the amount of crap you can collect in that game. And I'm not really sure how you're supposed to go about doing it. You probably have to follow a really strict guide, but
Mm.
there's supposed to be like hints to finding the truth or like uncovering the full mystery. I'm like I can't physically do that. That's just a whole lot of time for a game like this. So I could never imagine platinuming this unless if you had a really dedicated friend that really wanted to go through. But yeah, the moment that was done, we're like, okay, let's move to this, like, because it literally took us like less than half an hour. If we had just that, we were already that close to the end.
Mm.
Um, so like the next game in the series, and it's funny because as they were doing the outro, like there's a curator who's talking to you. He's the one like kind of guiding you through the story. Um, and he mentions he does an offhanded remark of maybe we'll see you again, if there's a little hope or something, and then he or something else. And I'm like, I wonder if, because obviously we didn't play this game when it first came out. I'm like, I wonder if they added that in afterwards as like a when the new game came out, if they already knew in advance that our next game is going to be Little Hope, and so we're throwing that in, recording it now.
Mm.
um
Maybe.
and then, yeah, so we started Little Hope. Uh, this one is, I think I mentioned last time, it has was it Will Poulter
Okay.
from like Midsummer and Narnia fame,
Yes.
also like
Yes.
Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So he plays Adam, the gold guy.
Hmm.
So he, this one plays more like kind of like a traditional. In the beginning, it's like the opening case scenario. It's like an Amityville horror almost, or like just weird things happening in a house, creepy little girl, bunch of family together. It's it's kind of cliche is the best way to play it, but like in a traditional horror sense. Um, and the opening scenes are always supposed to be like bad endings, and then it cuts to the real story. Um, and I don't know. I don't know anything about this, but I think I already figured out this, like, at least I'm adamantly saying that they're all dead, and it's like the bus driver's by him. Like the bus, you see the bus driver taking off. He's taking a bunch of passengers. They take an alternate route. And he gets in an accident and crashes. And then bus driver's gone, but like your passengers are there, and you're playing with them. He's apparently taking like a college field trip of a handful of people. Um, and I like you're essentially walking into Silent Hill. It's literally a foggy road. You can't leave. You try to go back to the bus, and then you end up looping back to the entrance. Like so, I'm like, okay, if this is cribbing off Silent Hill, you're all dead. Like this is
Mm,
you're all dead. The bus driver, like when he walks into the from the restaurant to the bus, you don't see anyone else, and I'm like, so this is all in the bus driver's head, right? Like you guys don't exist because he's hearing voices, but it sounds like they're talking. They're not talking to him. They found it's just like it literally seems like voices in his head. So this is what I called right out the gate. We'll see when I'm done with this if I'm right, but I'm really curious. And they really seem to be um, like I think they're supposed to be in Massachusetts or something like that. I think that's one of the university shirts said or something. And they seem to be going with the whole like old New England horror flashbacks or something. Like they see things, and it's like a child who's dressed up in an old colonial like outfit almost or something like that. So I think they seem to be going hard and heavy on the traditional horror, and like I feel like it's kind of jarring because I'm like, okay, what are you going to be? Because in the beginning it's like Amityville Horror meets like The Omen because it's like creepy little child maybe causing trouble, But then they show a figure in the back on the side that has long fingers, like like are you supposed it's supposed to be like a vampire, like the old Nosferatu style. I'm like I don't know what is going with. I feel like they just threw everything out the wall because like Man of Medan wasn't scary enough because it turned out to just it's like so now we're gonna make it traditional American horror.
okay,
Um,
they're doubling down. Like, we're gonna make it more obviously scary than
yeah,
weird or
you know,
something.
yeah. So I don't. These, like I said, it's fun. These games I find to be best played with somebody. Like it is weird when you're playing remote, but if you can do couch co-op, I think that's the best. When you guys, it's when you can talk crap about the game
Mm,
or like react at the same time. Because usually there's shared cutscenes like in the middle, but when you're playing as separate people, you're having separate dialogues. Um, it's kind of weird to play remote like that
yeah.
because it's just like he controls person A walking with person B, and I'm C talking with D and E. And I'm like, so then when we all meet up, then it's like you're literally coming into mid conversations with each other. That and we kind of, I think I mentioned with Mam and Dan at one point, our characters meet up and are fighting each other, but they're seeing visions of another person. So
Mm,
while I see like I was playing as the girlfriend character, and like the little brother Brad is attacking me, and I'm like, I knew I had a feeling it was my buddy playing Brad, but what he saw was a monster, so he was attacking the monster, and I'm like, dude, it's me. And then he goes, oh well, then I'm just gonna not attack. And then he just let go of chose not to try to attack, and then sure enough, cutscene moved on, and then later on, vice versa happened. I was playing as Alex, and I'm like, okay, so this is my turn. Actually, no, I think I was playing as the captain when Brad attacked, and then so when I was playing as Alex, he was about to attack his girlfriend. And I'm like, "Is that you?" And I'm like, "I'm attacking," and it's like, "Yep, that's me." I'm like, "Okay, then I'm not going to attack," because it's and like kind of ruins that. We're table talking at this point. It's
mhm,
like so we agreed this time around that we're not going to try to do that and break that fourth wall because it's like a D&D thing, right? Like
mhm,
we shouldn't and let it just play out and see what happens. I'm like, well, I thought I'd tell you because I was pretty confident that I could take you in both of those scenarios. I'm better at my reflexive button prompts. They're like, yeah, that's true, because we historically play multiplayer games together, like uh, Army of Two and notoriously RE5. We've beaten RE5 like a handful of times on like every
mm.
console version we can come out with, our PC version. Um, so when they eventually do the remake of that, we're gonna most definitely play it again. Uh, but whenever there's a scene, 9 out of 10 times they'll be the one who gets us killed and have to redo the sequence all over again. Um,
Suck at
so
those
I'm like,
QTEs.
I'm like, it's like we've played this game enough, and it's like I know where most of the secrets are, at least in the early game. I have it memorized. It's like, how do you remember where the medallions are? I'm like, dude, we've played this like how many times now? How do you not know where it is? This is by far one of the most games I've played, like frequently replayed games from front to back.
Mm,
Um, which should be a sad thing, but because once again, playing a bad game with a friend or a mediocre game with a friend makes it
makes
that
it
much better.
makes it.
So I think Dark Picture Chronicles, I like all their stuff they do. Supermassive, whether it's Until Dawn or The Quarry. Uh, I think it's that much more enjoyable if you have someone to play with, freak out with, complain or like, did you see that? Like especially when one of you does see something like in the background, like, did you see that? Like, what are you talking about? I didn't see squat, and then it's very much that the cheesy horror trope of, what was that? I don't know. You just quit messing with me. And yeah, so it's especially this time of year, you got to play something at least a little spooky, right?
Mm.
Ghost of Yote has the word ghost in it. Doesn't qualify, man.
Not, yeah, not really the same thing.
All right. Well, let's get to what we've been watching. All right. So you have some beef to lay down. So why don't you go ahead
Yeah.
and
So I will say first that next week I'm hoping I can talk about Alien Earth. Um, it's on episode. I'm through episode 7 right now, and I believe there's only going to be 8 episodes. And anyway, so I will be looking forward to talking about that next week. A very good show. I can go ahead and say that now. And if you're out there, not sure if you should watch it, and you definitely should if you like alien stuff at all. Um, but yeah, so I did get a chance to finish Wednesday season 2. Um, yeah, so this show it's like this season more than the first season. I feel like is more of a kids show, and it's and like I feel like maybe that's supposed to be obvious, but I was thinking about it as I was watching. I was like, I don't remember the first season being quite this much of a kids show. Maybe I was just kind of watching it through rose-colored glasses, or it was newer to me at the time. But anyway, so when this show's not being quite so hardcore of a kids show, it's pretty good. Um, I think that season 2's main storyline was quite good. It wasn't perfect, but it brings in the characters that you want to see, but you're not really sure why they're in it. And then as it goes on, it's kind of like, oh, it makes it apparent and and reveals what everyone's doing. And I was more surprised more often than I thought that I would be, especially toward the end. There was a pretty big reveal that I was like, oh dang, I did not see that coming. Um, I think I mentioned in an earlier episode that I was pretty sure who the bad guy was, and I was wrong. I didn't know who the bad guy was, but I was right in saying that this person is a bad guy, or at least they will be a bad guy. So if you've watched the end of the show, you probably know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so there's that. Uh, the secondary plots are where it definitely loses me. Steve Buscemi, I love him. Uh,
did you say
his
Buscemi?
is it Buscemi? Is that it?
Yeah.
Same thing.
At least I always pronounce it that. No, I'm
I've
like, oh,
literally heard both all the time,
okay.
but
I
I
didn't
don't know.
realize that he was in it. I think you might have mentioned it last time, or I think we discussed he was in it last time you talked about it, but I completely forgot he was even in this.
Anyway,
Okay.
old Steve,
Evo?
Steve B. He is he's in it, and he does his job, very well. Just the writing around his section it's not particularly great. It's he's involved with some characters that I don't really care too much about. And there's definitely some places where it's like, well, if you have this ability, then why don't you just do that, and then kind of solves this thing maybe a little bit quicker than the plot wants you to. Overall, it's you know, I don't think it was as good as the first season. I think there were some strong points to it. Not as good as the first season. Um, I when I finished this season, I was pretty sure that I would not continue on with season three. Now that I've had some time to settle on it, I don't know. I'll probably fire it up whenever it comes back. Um, I will say that I think that splitting it 4 episodes with like a month or whatever in between. I'm sure ratings wise and money wise, it made sense or whatever, but from a viewing standpoint, viewing and enjoyment standpoint, I think that was a mistake. Um, I was very much more into this show at the end of episode 4 when they took the break than I was when it came back for season or for episode 5 and 6. Um, watching those, I was like, what were we doing? And like, man, it was like, because it had a nice build up to the mid season point, which is why they cut it right there, or story wise, why they cut it right there. But that momentum with that mini arc, finished, would have made, episodes 5 and 6 where they're kind of trying to, get the momentum going again. It would have carried that through. I would have been much more like, okay, we just had something fun. I'm ready for like a little bit of a relax. But I had that like relax denouement for a month without the show, and then it came back, and I was like, okay, I'm ready for this show to go because I've had a break for a month, so I'm ready for it to go now, and it was starting slow again, and I was like, okay, and it kind of turned me against it, to be honest. And also, I mean, I pay for Netflix like, you know yearly, so it doesn't matter to me if they break it up. But just having that in the back of my mind, like they're breaking it up so that they can get more people to be on the subscription for more than 1 month in a row. I'm like, if you're gonna do that, then just release it 1 week at a time. Anyway, so Wednesday, it was a show. It could have been
So
better. It was all right.
season two, so it's more like it's like from Friday to next Friday. So then we're hoping that Wednesday after next isn't going to be better
Wednesday
than.
after next. Oh man, that would be pretty good. Like, why is Ice Cube in this? It would probably be better written if it was written by Ice Cube. He's a pretty good writer.
I mean, especially if he has the explosiveness as he does in like the 21 and 22 Jump Street.
That
Yeah,
then again, he did just do War of the Worlds, which I have only seen memes of.
yeah. Apparently, it's being critically panned as like the worst thing around since like a very long time. Uh, yeah, it's. I feel like that film seems to make viewable movies like good.
Oh
You
wow,
know,
you can't win them all. You can't win them all.
so yeah, he got paid though. He got paid that big old Amazon money, so can't fault him for that. All right. Well, let's see. For me, all right. So anime season's starting to come to an end. The some of the big ones that just ended that were on my watch list were Clevatess. Clevatess has been really solid. Um, they end the arc. That it's actually a nice closure to the arc, and it's very much left wide open for season two. But at least this point ends, which is great. I'm still traumatized from growing up with anime that just never ended, or like it was like it was just manga bait. Like, all right, we're done here. We're never gonna make any more anime, but guess what? You can have the manga. So uh There's let's see who we have. I would say it's worth a watch, especially if you have the time for it. But it's uniquely animated, a decent side, a fantasy story. It's pretty well done all around. Uh, Now the other one that's also equal, like everything I just said for the most part, is pretty holds true. Is New Saga. New Saga was a reincarnation tale in a fantasy world where the main hero defeats the demon lord, happens to get rewound in time to like years, a couple years before the whole demon empire starts their fighting, and it's him knowing what's coming up and trying to prep early, and kind of being or is very much willing to play dirty and do whatever it takes. So one of the things is like he's like, yeah, my last time around there was a dungeon and it had all these traps and stuff, and when we finally got it, we got the special sword at the end. He goes, this time around, we're gonna use magic and dig from the outside and break through into the treasure room, just completely cheat our way through. It's like uh one of the side characters is pretty good. His good friend, he's just like his mother is apparently like a great warrior, and so he's been trained very severely. But he's like his friend is just willing to uh, be merciless and fight underhandedly. But it's just like uh, and he's brutal. He's just completely no honor, as it were. And you're like, all right, I'm okay with this. These characters are refreshingly different in a lot of ways. Uh, the the current story arc ends, but it's very much an ongoing campaign. But it ends with like they finish the things that they're doing at that very moment. But the story is very long. In fact, like I said, I stopped reading the manga just a couple years ago, and the manga is still quite a bit ahead of where it's like I would say it's at least where I finished the manga is probably halfway through season two if they got it. So I'm kind of curious, so by now they should clearly have more than 2 seasons worth of stuff. I do hope they get another season of both Clevatess and New Saga, because they deserve it. So um, that's really it. Because I've said what I had to say about them before. I'm just saying now it's all said and done. If you hadn't gotten around to it, or if it was just slightly on your radar, I'm saying they're pretty solid picks for this season. Unfortunately, I haven't had a time to watch a lot of this stuff, and this week and next week are going to be like a lot of the final episodes. So currently, a lot of them are in episode 11, and there's still new stuff coming out. I think Dandanon's finishing up this week too.
Mm.
So there's a lot of good stuff to talk about. But also I'm a little bit behind on a few of them because I waited for the English, and I'm just sticking with those because I think a lot of them. Season one, I started with English. I'm like, I just like the English voices. Um, so all right. Uh, I think that's it for the for really about the anime talk. I believe that they announced that Oshinoko season 3 is supposed to be coming out in January, I believe.
Okay.
So
I feel like
so
that.
that
How long ago was season two? I feel like it wasn't all that long ago.
no, but I mean Oshinoko finished the manga finished roughly around the end of season 2.
Yeah, I
Uh
guess. I mean, I just kind of thought they would be like they would just be in development more, just animation purely, taking longer. But yeah, okay, that's cool. That will be because I was in this apartment. I mean, I've been in this apartment for a while now, but I was in this apartment whenever season two came out. So um, yeah, uh, it's nice that they jumped back on it and they're getting it to us in a timely manner.
yeah, it's one of those things that like a lot of people of Kaguya-sama are still very upset because they want to finish that story up in anime form, and it doesn't look like that's going to happen, at least not anytime soon. Um, so I'm curious. I have not finished. So since the manga finished, I started reading the manga into this third season, but I haven't finished it. It's one of those things that I'm hesitant to finish it because the endings have something like when it comes to drama is they're I almost feel like they're never wrapped up tidy, or there's always like there's chaos in these. Whether if like any drama series, whether it be like live action or something like Breaking Bad or something like that, you never get the perfect ending that, or there's always people who are going to be upset about the ending, and so I always feel like it's hard to make it to my satisfaction.
Mhm.
Or I can like, yeah, I can see that, but I maybe don't, maybe I understand it, but maybe I just don't like it. Um, stuff like that. So I'm kind of hesitant because I don't want to finish the manga because I don't want to be upset.
Mm.
I feel like there might be one or two things that would really cause issue, I guess. Luckily, I've been able to still say pretty spoiler free though. So that was the one of the main reasons I'm like, oh man, I really should finish the manga just so I don't run into an accidental spoiler because that would just kind of ruin my day. Um,
Mm.
that's the last thing you need is having something serious spoiled for you. All right. Let's see here. So now to the news. You had some interesting stuff for us today.
Yeah,
So
there's
yeah.
not too much going on, but most of it has to do with Borderlands 4 and Randy Pitchford, who, well, you know, he's kind of back at it again. He's not doing anything too wild this time. So Borderlands 4 came out, and from what I understand, it's selling pretty well. I haven't seen anything to the contrary of that. Um, but so it seems to be selling pretty well, but it is having some performance issues. I guess more than what people would like, or people who are complaining about it are being loud about it. And Randy Pitchford, never one to sit on the sidelines. Um, it took to Twitter or whatever and started making suggestions for people. He suggested using AI tools like DLSS to improve performance or request a refund. Um, it's just like, do you have to do this? Like really? Like, I mean,
he came off very standoffish, and accusatory, blaming, blaming people with saying that, pretty much making it, I'm paraphrasing, but like, gamers don't like not coming in with uh, too high of expectations, blaming saying like, if you're expecting to get 4K 60 frames or whatever at like with old like 6-year-old gear or something 5-year-old gear, essentially saying that like making me think anyone with a 20 series card, if you're expecting to get 4K or something like that, I'm like, Nvidia 20 series card, I'm like, that's most people who have a 20 series card realize they're not going to get 4K. he's just being he's kind of being an ass is what he's being like,
well, it's
you know
it's it's
it's
just
like
it's like just let the PR group handle that, and the right answer is to say we have found or we have heard you, we have found the issues, we're working on them. We're going to get them to you as fast as possible. Right now, the only options that we have are this and this, but we're working on the problem, blah blah. And it shouldn't be that like it's like your job you know, is not to do this. Like this is not your job. Like I don't know what your job is, Randy, but it's not this. Like let one of the interns or the peons or the PR people or somebody with, public relations training handle this stuff. Like you knew about the issues before the game was launched. Everybody always knows about the issues. You already knew about this. So it's not like you're surprised while you're having a glass of wine as the game comes out. Like, oh, I gotta like take this on. Like you knew what people were gonna say because you own the company and you made the game. So it's just like it's just like don't do this. But we know how he is. And we knew that he was going to say something. And honestly, I'm pretty impressed that it's not worse than it is. I mean, I'm sure Borderlands 4 is great or whatever, but the Randy Pitchford situation is not worse than
well,
it already is.
that's the thing, is like you're literally just making like everyone's happy the game came out, Yes, not it's not optimized. That's the honest truth. It's not optimized for the PC at this time. Some people are a little bit angry for the field of vision, not having a field of FOV slider for console.
Mhm.
So they're like, and in his in his tirade of just trying to blame uh, the gamers for having just unrealistic expectations, and then trying to uh, gaslight us to thinking it's in our head and it's not a real problem. A lot of people have voiced been like, no, no, we have high end, we have the new series, graphics cards, or we have a 4090, we have the 50 series cards, and they're still having issues with it. Um, you know, all he had to do is not say anything, not say a single word, and it'd have turned out better than this. But now, of course, then people are retaliating because you're like, yo, you're gonna be a jerk, so we can be jerks too, and that's just hurting their overall image uh, and their ratings. You know, the as far as and of course, not to let something die. He does it not once, but twice, and then comes back a third time for like, but the third one was just like the most, I don't know, your aunt on Facebook trying to prove a point with an article that they read. They're like, well, here's like something like from the QA team, and he's bullet pointing all the issues with the game and like the ticket orders that they have, and like performance is so low on this thing. It's not even like trying to double down
It's like
and
Randy, I paid $70 for this game, man. I've been waiting for this game for years, especially with the letdown that I mean, maybe somebody that was jumping in on Borderlands 4 is not gonna was not that upset with Borderlands 3, but like you know, some people are going to be in that camp where they were like, I was let down by 3, and I'm really looking forward to 4, and now it's like not working all that great. And I paid max money, man. Like the thing that it's that I think a lot of these developers don't always realize is that the day one complainers are your biggest fans. They are paying the money. They have shelled out the biggest money. Um, and in 6 months, when this game is, 5 or 10% or 20% off, like people that are playing it then, they're going to enjoy it and stuff, but they're not your biggest fans. Like they're not going to be the ones that are going to talk about it the most. They're not going to be the ones that are on Twitch, basically running ads for you. Um, and so like treat them like that. Treat them like, okay, you're complaining and yeah, blah blah, but it's like, Randy, I'm sure you have a lot of money. I don't know how rich you are or whatever, but like a lot of these people are working stiffs, and this might be the only game they get to play this quarter, or that they plan to play this quarter, or whatever. And it's just like it just try to have a little bit of heart. The other part of this story is that Borderlands 4 seemingly, I think this was on a couple different sites, but seemingly is running worse on PS5 Pro the longer you play. It's running worse than the longer you play on PS5 Pro than on a regular PS5. Um, and so currently the suggestions are to restart the game every few hours. People are thinking it's not conclusive, but people are thinking that it's due to a memory leak in the game. And kind of all signs seem to point to yes on that, maybe. It remains to be seen, and either way they'll probably get it patched out and fixed up. But there's real issues, and well, I mean, I think we both came into this knowing how Randy was going to be, uh, and it's just I sometimes I hate being right, and yeah.
well, I mean, it's one of those situations where you're part of the dev team. You guys work your tail off. You make something that people generally like better than the previous, which is a success. And then you have your boss come in and just crap all over everything and make everyone be from mostly positive to, irate and be like, no, you know what, I can skip this. It fills the niche. I think a lot of people already came into this knowing that Borderlands 3 was not good. I mean, it's just the humor wasn't in it for most people because a lot of Twitch and meme humor kind of stuff, and it was just not that not that funny for a lot of people. The story also really weak. Hence, it didn't continue with that. So this was a fresh start. People like to have multiplayer games that they can play with. It's very few games you can play with like four-player co-op campaign wise. And yeah, that's great. Everyone did everything pretty well. Yeah, it's not perfect. You don't need to make it worse. But because it wasn't 100% perfect, everyone wasn't just singing its praises. Randy's ego had to just completely mess this up for all the people that work for him. There's one thing to make yourself look bad. It's another thing to hurt the bottom line for everyone else underneath. If there's certain sales bonuses that they got to make or anything like that, like then they're going to be screwed because their boss just unless if this is secretly a plan to tank it so they don't have to pay out bonuses.
It's a write off.
Because we've seen other things like that, shady stuff. But the other part was this game was originally supposed to come out later in September, and they had originally moved it forward. So they're like, we're so confident in our game, we're moving it 11 whole days, like earlier. Um,
What if they
and
were
to be
trying to get
that,
out of the way of something? That smells like we're trying to get out of the way of another game. Like
yeah,
maybe
maybe.
like maybe Ghost of what's that other game that's coming out toward the beginning of October? Ghost of
I mean, because yeah, it's like this was supposed to be the end of September originally, September 23rd, according to the AI that I asked it. And so yeah, that's once it's disappointing because you're confident enough, you're not pushing it back, you're confident enough to move it forward, and you got caught in a lie because there's no way if you did the proper testing, you would have found this. Now, memory leaks for like the PlayStation, that's a different story. Bethesda's had that problem often enough with some of their games, but you have to let it run for quite a while, before you really start noticing the impact. And so, depending on the people's play sessions for testing, that's a little harder to pick up. So I can give them a little pass on the console version, but when it comes to the PC specs, unless if they're all running everything perfectly on high end marks, like the main argument is you have a minimum spec setting that is there as a guideline. Um, to know how the game is supposed to run efficiently at lower spec. Now, if it's still running like crap, the whole point is we don't have like the time to put in the return for PC games, whether it's Steam or whether it's Epic. You only have a certain amount of time to play the game. You might not realize the jank at first, and then as you play more, then you realize, oh, there is more jank to it than I realized, or what I thought wasn't annoying turns out to be actually annoying the more you play. uh, we don't have the luxury of testing it, or if we don't like it, returning it to the store, if it's the PC version. um, I mean, you have to know right away in a matter of a couple hours. That's not right. And so just to tell people, oh yeah, you just get a refund, and or just you should know that
yeah.
you should have a PC this good. I'm like, well, like people are following your guidelines of a minute between the minimum spec to the current hardware. This is what it's available, so it should be fine if it's within that range.
And see, like all of this is like it's like this is games. Um, this is sort of just what happens, and it's never good or fun or whatever when it goes like this. But it makes it a lot better when it's like, yeah, we know there's some problems, and we're going to fix them, rather than, you know, it's like he's like ends a lot of his statements in these posts with like just trying to be helpful, and it's like, no, you know what you're doing, you know.
That's being sarcastic as hell is what it is, and it's belittling your fan base. You're pretending to you're not even pretending to be helpful. You're just saying that that's a snarky, childish comment for someone who cannot take criticism, constructive criticism, like an adult. Um, there's a reason, like they're just a giant man child, and there's no excuse for it. Hire a PR person, shut your mouth, let everyone do the work for you, earn the money. You go back to playing Magic or whatever, like not the card game. He's notably a Magic performer. So whatever. Go learn a new card trick. Stop trying to butt into your own business because you don't know what you're talking about, or at least how to run it. Um,
Um, yeah. In other news, Borderlands 5 is going to be set in medieval times. Um, Next news thing, you can pair your DualSense to up to 4 devices now. So that's cool. So this is like if you go back and forth between like your PlayStation and then playing on Steam or something like that. Um, yeah. So I don't really have much of a use for this, but there's probably going to become a day where I do, and it's kind of nice. It's a nice little quality of life thing to have.
Yeah, I can see it being it's a lot more convenient when you can pair it to your phone if you want to stream or do remote play that way, or to your tablet. And once again, yeah, PC to console. That just went live within the last week. Haven't tried it. Haven't had a chance to try it yet. I'm still using an old PS4 controller as my uh, screen share computer. It was like this. I can sacrifice this controller. I'm never using this on anything ever again. So that's the one I dedicate to my phone for streaming PS5 stuff. So
That one you don't feel so bad when you screw up a jump in a game and then slam it on the ground. Um,
phone's attached to it. I can't afford to do that.
okay, okay, then maybe you would feel really bad. All right, next thing up, Dark Math, which is the Disco Elysium spin-off studio, has renamed their game from Triple X Night Shift to Tangerine Antarctic. And they shift the game from being isometric to a third person RPG. Um, yeah, so I remember seeing the trailer for Triple X Night Shift, and it was so, I was like, okay, cool, I'm in because it's Disco Elysium or whatever, or at least I want to check it out or whatever. Um, and I remember seeing the title, but the way that it was stylized, it didn't give me very much pause. But I remember being like, those X's are kind of interesting. The number and the proximity to each other that they are is sort of interesting, but it was stylized in such a way that I was like, okay. And I just kind of went on because there's other stuff to talk about and look at. Um, but yeah, I didn't really see any more. I literally just saw that they changed the name from this to this, and they're changing it over to Tangerine Antarctic. Um, but yeah, but like now looking at it, I'm like, yeah, it kind of makes sense. Triple X Night Shift, like I think that you're gonna push away some people um, who are not 100% sure about what the game is by having a title like that. So, yeah, I thought that was kind of weird. And then I don't really I don't really think I like the third person shift. I liked um, the aesthetic of the isometric, aspects. Um, and I was looking forward to if getting into it. I was looking forward to that as a selling point for the game. So yeah.
yeah, the Triple X Night Shift is very much Vin Diesel's Triple X logo
Oh, okay.
um, from the movie.
Oh,
It
maybe
just
maybe
that's all I can look at that and just see, like, Triple X. Yeah. So though Tangerine Antarctic, I just think it's a terrible name. Um,
Yeah, it's not that's
I would
not
rather
great.
stick with Triple X Night Shift, to be honest. Because it just everything about that makes it seem like it's, if you're going with a dark, seedy undertone, um, but they also like some of their posters that they put around was um, like who'll get what, or who gives a what, kind of, so they were kind of playing with that. And like, yeah, it's a little childish a little bit,
Mm.
but at the same time, depending on the tone, the theme of your story, it might still play really well. Uh, Tangerine Antarctic just sound. I mean, it probably fits in well with the story, but it just
I,
seems really
it does, like,
word.
I've read a little bit about it, and it does have something to do with the Antarctic. Um, but yeah, the tangerine, it's yeah, yeah, Disco
You
Elysium.
get scurvy, you know, in the Antarctic. You just it's like being on a ship. You can't get scurvy, man. No
Yeah,
vitamin C.
yeah, I guess yeah, you need those tangerines, but yeah, like um uh Disco Elysium, if you think about it, doesn't sound bad, on its face. So you kind of, it's and that's good. It's fine. But then when you think about Disco Elysium, like what those two words mean and what they mean together, it is kind of a cool kind of sounding like idea. It's like, okay, that's kind of weird. This Tangerine Antarctic, um, I don't know where they're going
It's
with
a
it.
hotel name. Apparently, that's what it is. Um, let's see. According to
Yeah.
the Steam, so that's what it's saying. It's a luxurious hotel, the Tangerine Arctic, at Mount Hope. So,
Okay.
all right,
Yeah. Well.
yeah. Well, anyways, like I said, I'm curious to the third person perspective. Uh, it's a bold move, I guess, is the best way to play it. Whenever games go from like one thing to another, like Risk of Rain.
Mm,
Like they switched it from that pixel art, to third person. That seemed to do it some favors. It lets you really get interesting with the character models because Disco Elysium, it's for what it's worth, it's always kind of like a lo-fi game because
yeah.
you're pulled back so much. But they do so much well and so much other things that are really suited for the game. But if you really want to get with the graphics and make it look a certain style, aesthetic, and try to get more visceral, I guess you can do more in this. You know, I think I'm very curious to see what will happen. I could not get into Disco Elysium as much as I wanted to just because the time sink. Like they it's one of those games that I feel like when I start playing it, like I want to play in a bunch of different ways. And I'm like, dude, I don't have all this time to put into this game. Uh, and I'm most definitely going to fail a couple times or to go routes that I probably shouldn't just because I'm
Mm,
curious. And that's once again, you only have so much life to live, and I cannot spend it as much as I'd like to playing just one game.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm hopeful that they will do good things with this.
Yeah. Me too. Next up, Vampire Masquerade Bloodlines 2 has backed off locking two clans behind the paywall, and instead, so they're going to give them to you and not in paid DLC, and instead, what is going behind a paywall, I guess, is they're offering new story packs. So I guess there's a lot of different stories in Vampire the Masquerade. There's your main line, and then there's a lot of like side stories. So it kind of makes sense, if you got to put something behind a paywall, um, then I guess story like some stories that people may or may not want to get into are a little bit more optional than like clans, where it's like, hey, there's a whole like gameplay section here that I'm going to miss out on that's ready to go, that you're just trying to nickel and dime me for. Whereas stories, it's like, yeah, at least you're not missing a chunk of the game, like a chunk of like the gameplay rather. So they've decided to do that. So it's a little bit of
So
a
we the gamers have won because we complained enough.
gamers rise
Um,
up.
it is a it is shady when you're like, yeah, right out the gate, we're gonna have DLC,
Yeah.
especially with something like that. What you do is you hold off and just say you have plan like especially with something like Vampire the Masquerade, uh, you can get away with recycle an old term, expansion pack, boom, like that makes people more interested. If you make it more flushed out, you give them and then in the future we plan on having more clans, more stories, and everything like that, and then you get people more hyped for it. That would be the proper way to do it, not being like, yeah, right from the jump, we're gonna have more stuff for you that we're because it no matter how you put it, it feels like you just robbed them. It's just like you might as well just cut off the ending of the game, and yeah, if you want the third act, you can just pay us extra. Like why do that, especially when you're supposed to be a full-fledged game? It's like uh
It's it's
well,
it's weird because it's like they don't believe in. It seems like they don't believe in the longevity of the game really at all. If they don't, if because like the move is like, okay, you got it ready early or on time or whatever. Well, just put it back 3 months and pretend like you didn't, you know. But if you don't think anybody's gonna be buying or playing your game or want to come back to it, then yeah, I guess the move is to separate it out so that anyone who's like, well, I've already bought the game and I was really going to be into it, and now I just want to get the whole experience, so I guess I'll shell out a little bit more money. Like that's what you're trying to do. And again, we have people who are thumbing their nose, or rather, corporations that are thumbing their nose at their biggest fans. It's like the people who are buying Bloodlines 2 day one are your biggest fans, and you're giving them the finger. You're saying, "F you." Here's some paywall content. Um, it's 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 a it's a one step forward and a half a step back. It's like, well,
it always confused me too because it's you hurt the early adopters, people who don't wait for the complete edition, people who jump in right from the start, and there's a little less on PC, but more so on like consoles, like PlayStation Store. When you bought the Resident Evil 4 remake, now you can like that goes on sale quite a bit, and so does the complete edition, their gold edition or whatever. But what doesn't go on sale ever is the Ada Wong $10 expansion.
I don't want to go
That's
with that
in the
one.
complete edition. So, you're like, okay, well, if you want the whole thing, uh, it's cheaper for it's like you got screwed for adopting early, for being in on day one because you were so hyped, you're so excited. Like you could make this other DLC cheaper. You have the power. Um, that happened. I mean, Stellar Blade's done the same thing. It was like I'm pretty sure they have two pieces of DLC. They have the Nikkei expansion and the Near expansion. They even put them together as a bundle, slightly cheaper together. But those haven't gone on sale at all. Uh, the main game and the complete edition do. It's like why screw over the people that were willing to shell out right away, and then you reward people for waiting, because that's exactly what you promote. You promote people who are like, well, I'm willing to hold off, wait a little bit, and see what DLC is coming down the road, um, and then get the complete package all said and done. It's doesn't make a lot of sense. It's not that hard to, go ahead and discount your DLC appropriately, right? So just
At
not
some
saying it needs to
point,
be any
yeah.
cheaper, but make it the same, like make it the equivalent of, hey, you're doing the complete edition for 10% off. Um, well, then if you want to just like just make that percentage, or even it just irks me because that happens a lot actually, and it very much spoils the mood, especially when you think like if they talk about early on, we're gonna get DLC. We're like, okay, well, are you gonna screw us over with the DLC, or should I just wait for the whole thing? I'll wait for the Game of the Year edition. I'll wait for the complete, super pack, and be done with it. I mean, it would suck. I missed out on the hype of the game when it first comes out, but my wallet will thank me later. you know,
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
especially if
already
you're
waiting
not.
for the complete edition. I'll wait a little extra time before that complete edition then drops on sale, you know?
Yeah, for real. I mean, like, it's just like if you have another game in mind, you're like, yeah, I'd actually rather shell out my cash to get that instead. Then or if you're on the fence about it, then you might be pushed to want to get that other game instead. Whereas if there wasn't this kerfuffle with a game like this, you might be like, yeah, I like there, like you just wouldn't think twice about it, and you might go ahead and get it, or you might get both, or whatever, But when you have things like this that have to consider, which it's good that they came back a little bit on it, but it's it's just sort of silly because like this is going to be in your mind if unless you're like a really like dyed in the wool bloodlines fan, and you just don't really care what they do, like how they abuse you, you know, if you're on the fence at all, or you're having second thoughts at all, or any kind of hesitation, then hearing about this is going to put a bad taste in your mouth, and you can be less likely to buy.
Yeah. In fact, I think in one of the situations, I think the Horizon Zero Dawn DLC, the Frozen Wilds, I believe that that didn't go on sale for a very long time, if at all, like for the first like year plus. Uh, and I remember due to big sales, I was able to buy the complete edition cheaper than the DLC. So I have a base copy of a physical copy of the base game, and then I have a digital copy of the complete edition,
Mm.
uh, which is asinine. I shouldn't have that, but at the same time, it was cheaper. But because also you waited, end up waiting so long for the Frozen Wilds, I barely played it because by the time I'm like my muscle memory for the game was gone, and I kind of was like, well, maybe I should play it again just so I can, because it just felt wonky. I just wasn't really there. I'm like, yeah, I just don't think I'm going to finish Frozen Wilds is what it came out to be, which is then just a waste of money for me all around. You know, but luckily it was discounted, waste of money.
Yeah, you didn't
So
waste as much money.
yeah, if I'm going to throw away my money, I'm going to throw it away smartly.
Mm.
All right.
Last little bit doesn't have too much to do with video games, but Robert Redford passes away at age 89. Um, so he's a great actor. Most famously to me, Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. It's probably my favorite film by him. But did lots of other stuff like The Last Castle and The Natural. And Yeah, he was a really great actor, and he shall be missed.
Yep. All the President's Men was one of the big ones for me, and which a very huge component of the like independent film,
Mhm.
and it's kind of
He
it's
started.
amazing.
He was like a co-founder of Can, right?
Yes. Um, and ended up the amount of made it to a point where could have just easily retired forever ago, but would continue to make smaller films. Like it's amazing to see someone with the passion. I mean, and they weren't all like bangers. That's the thing though. Willing to take a gamble, willing to do what they wanted and pick and choose. Um, and that shows like a real forward thinking momentum of, yeah, this is film as an art, this is something that they want to do. um you know not it's again, it's there is
Beyond a
something to,
paycheck.
yeah. And unfortunately, like, it was one of those things that when I heard he passed, I'm like, yeah, but he lived a full life,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
and left us with a lot of work to enjoy and to like appreciate, but like was seriously working up until like last year. So it's by far, there's a handful of movies easily able to watch, recommend a bunch. So if you haven't, like, it's funny because my son will forever know him as the dude from Winter Soldier, the bad guy.
Oh yeah.
That's his first experience, which is funny. But I'm like, dude, he's been in stuff. That's how wide range he is. It's just like, from something like Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid to all the way to the Avenger, to the Winter Soldier. So, all right. A true icon, surely be missed, but also very much appreciated. So, all right. If you guys made it to the end, we appreciate it. Thank you. And Nick, what are some words of wisdom you have for the people out there today?
Um, if you should always make sure that you clean um, behind the curtains in your house as often as you can. Um, it's a place where dust and sometimes mold can live, and those can cause allergies and respiratory issues. And yeah, so always clean behind your curtains.
Yeah, especially if you have the blackout curtains, uh, and you live somewhere cold, like for sure. Okay, well, guys, once again, this has been ADP episode 144. Until next time, y'all take it easy.
Bye.